Dr. Mohamed Alawadhi, AGU graduate 2016, did internship in SMC 2017, and then proceeded to obtain a master's in healthcare management and a master's in public health from the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia 2018 to 2019. Currently working in the Public Health Directorate in the Communicable Disease section for around 9 months.
السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. أهلا وسهلا دكتور محمد.
دكتورة شلونك؟
عساك بخير. الحمد لله، الله يسلمك. Good to see you.
أهلا وسهلا. Can I share my screen, دكتورة?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right. أول شيء نرحب فيكم. Hi everyone. Thank you for the organizers and for all the attendees to include me in this talk. I really appreciate it. A lot of you might have the question of alternative options. What do you mean? Are you trying to defer us from medicine? Are you trying to defer us from clinical medicine? And that's probably not the message I'm trying to send, but hopefully in the talk, and if there's any questions after it, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thank you for introducing me. My name is Mohamed Alawadhi. I'm currently working in the Public Health Directorate. And as you know, in public health at the moment, it's all about COVID. Everything is about COVID at the moment. We work 24 hours about COVID. We sleep at night thinking about COVID, and we wake up in the morning thinking about COVID. But yeah, let's have a very brief talk about alternative options, what you can do, what options do you have after you graduate, and things like that. First of all, I remember when I was in my 6th year of medical school, I looked at the people around me and everyone had the question in mind, what is next? What are we doing next? What's the important aspects of this year? We always feel like we are pressured into knowing what we're supposed to do after it, what specialty we're trying to get into, which hospital should we partake in our internship year, what are we doing after that? There's a lot of options that are coming in mind, and a lot of people start having doubts. A lot of people aren't really sure, and that's okay. And I'm trying to tell you that is okay. If you're an AGU student in your 5th year and your 6th year, and you are still unsure about what you should do with your life, even not just in which specialty you should take, that's okay. That's really fine. We all feel it, and it's perfectly fine. I thank my colleague Abdurrahman Daish for giving a brief about specialties and about giving an idea about what you should do in your internship year and after it, and that's very important. And hopefully with the talks later of my other colleagues regarding the specialties, you'll have an understanding about which ones you should choose maybe. Okay, the important aspect of when you're thinking about alternative options is that you should always think that I should have specific skills. What are the skills that you should have as a clinician, as an employee in anywhere that you should have, or which attributes you should have in order to, for example, progress and thrive in your field of work. These are just examples. Like, for example, you want to be a doctor, but you want to do clinical research on the side. If you're if you want to be in let's say healthcare management, you should have certain skills. So, for example, if you're a clinical researcher and you're a clinician as well, you have to have certain skills in writing. You have to have certain analytical skills in data. And in analyzing data, like you have to have certain basics in SPSS, data, or if you learn about these skills, you will have that X factor that maybe other people might not have. Let's say you're a medical graduate and you want to continue your career in management, in healthcare management, and you want to open your own agency, let's say an accreditation agency or health insurance agency, and you just don't know how to do it. You obviously have to have skills in it. You have to learn the basics of management theory, maybe partake into a professional management certificate like PMP, CAMP, and that's okay. I remember when I partook these courses, and I looked at the people around me, and everyone was an accountant, people were working in law firms, and they looked at me and they're like, you're a doctor, what are you doing here? I'm like, no, I want to learn. I want to have these skills. I want to have these licenses and certain management certificates. And I learned a lot in partaking in these courses. The important message that I want to say is that having doubts in yourself in your 6th year, in your 5th year, in your internship year, and then you're not sure what to do, does not mean you'll become a bad physician. That's not the answer. I'm pretty sure AGU students and AGU graduates, most of them, if not all of them, they have that X factor. We learned how to hustle from our first year. We learned how to do problem-based learning, and that's excellent. That's an excellent practice that that AGU teaches us. And all of you, when you graduate, you will have a bright future, I am sure. And you have to continue your career. And if you want to continue your career, you have to have certain determination in your work. And you have to remember why you got into medicine in the first place. These things always keep you fueled up. They always keep you thriving and hungry to do more in the job market. And I know that a lot of you might think, but training spots might be difficult to get. Even service spots, being a service doctor, even some of them might be difficult to get, but it's not impossible. If you have those X factors that other people might not have, and if you keep having that mentality of, I am hungry to work, I am hungry to learn, and you keep your knowledge fresh and have certain skills that other might not have, nothing's impossible. Okay, now I want to just go back a little bit and not talk about how to become a good doctor, because maybe other people might talk about that. I want to tell you what makes you a good employee in the first place. At the end of the day, as a clinician, as a manager, as anything, as an academic, you have to be a good employee in the first place, and then become a good accountant, a good doctor, a good lawyer, and yada, yada, yada. So regardless of the profession, what makes you a good employee is sheer determination and hard work. Always take that extra mile. For example, maybe others don't want to take a certain task, a certain on-call, a certain research project. You take it. If you feel others feel like, oh, I don't want to do this task, you take it. You jump on that board and you say, I want to do it. I want to go that extra mile. And always be positive regarding it. Yes, it might be tiring now. It might be tiring in your early years in working, but if someone doesn't want to take a certain task and you take it, that's a positive sign for you. That means you have that X factor. You are hungry to work more. Now, this one might hit a bit closer to home. Your attitude should always be up to date, even if you, for example, leave clinical medicine for some time, but you want to keep your knowledge fresh, you should always keep on learning. Yes, a lot of you might think, what if I stay at home? And a lot of you did after graduating and trying to find work, trying to find a training program. But your attitude should always be, I always want to work. I always want to do things. When I was in Australia, I had my training in health management. I had my master's degree and I had a lot going on. But at the same time, I still worked those odd jobs because I felt like I can learn from them. Learning being in the cash register, learning being in stockpiling. I learned a lot from them. It made me have that attitude of, I need to learn more skills as much as I can. So when I go into the job market as a clinician, as a health manager in dealing with a lot of things, I will have that responsibilities because I feel like I am hungry to learn more and more. Okay, now this is the slide that all of you are thinking, maybe, okay, what if we have an alternative choice? Okay, we are clinicians. We might have our full-time job as a clinician. Do I have alternative choices as a part-time gig, or should I do my clinical work as a part-time gig and another thing as a full-time gig? It all depends on you. What do you need? What do you want to do after you finish your medical career, after you finish your 6 years? It all depends on you. Now, when we finish 6 years of medical school, we feel like we're on top of the hill, like we know everything. And then we go into our internship year and realize, oh, it's like finishing primary school and getting into middle school, where there's a lot of people who know a lot of things and it feels like we don't know anything. So, and that's perfectly fine. you have to continue, and you'll have to get into that, and don't dwell too much into feeling that you don't know enough. Develop the skills that you have, develop the skills that will make you a good clinician. And if you feel like you can develop other skills that would make you a good healthcare manager, that would make you, for example, a good epidemiologist or a good researcher, do it. Learn those skills in, as I mentioned, SPSS, Stata, R, Excel, PowerPoint. Learn all the different skills. Even Photoshop and Illustrator can help you a lot in your field of work. It will make your work more presentable. So the more skills you will learn is the better. Now, what are the alternative options that people might have as a part-time thing, or even a full-time thing if you graduate from medicine? Now, the first one that there's a big circle around it is health insurance companies. A lot of physicians who graduate medicine go into health insurance companies and thrive in it, because there's a big market there for doctors, and there's a big market for healthcare managers as well. And you can learn so much when you work when you work in these health insurance companies. Maybe you want to work there temporarily as a year or two to learn, and then go back to your clinical work. Maybe you could work in your clinical work and work in health insurance part-time, and that's fine. Another thing that is becoming big now is health accreditation agencies. As you know, in NHRA, I trained in NHRA as well. Every hospital now and health center, governmental and non-governmental, have to have accreditation, licensing, and they have to go by certain rules and regulations. So who does these? Health accreditors, surveyors, inspectors. So, and they do need clinicians to work in this field. And there's a big market for it as well. Research is a big market, academia and research. If you have an interest in data analysis and research and writing, that is a very good alternative option when you're working in your clinical field, and you can do this as a part-time, or you can even do it as a full-time job. Pharmaceutical industry, academia, public health. Public health is going to become really big. As you know, the outbreak happened, and I came back to Bahrain, alhamdulillah. There was an opportunity in public health, and I'm seeing that there's a lot of opportunities coming in public health now after the pandemic. A lot of light is being shed on it, which is really good. And I think there will be more sustainable light on public health in the future. So if you would want to think about a career in it, it would be a really good option. And the final thing I want to say, even if you've graduated as a clinician and you're thinking about, what if I want to do something different? You want to be an IT consultant, you want to be a graphic designer, you want to go into a career of coding, you want to go into a career of business, that's fine. That's really, really fine. There's no rule book for you when you graduate that you have to go into a certain path. I know clinicians outside of Bahrain, and even in Bahrain, who finished medical school. Some of them even finished their training programs and got into other things. There are people who go into coding, as I said, into graphic design, into IT consultancy. It depends on what you want to do. At the end of the day, this is your life, this is your career, and these are the skills that you want to obtain to do what you want to do. But the message that I want to say at the end is that always keep working. Always have that thriving mentality of, I never want to stay at home, even if there's not enough opportunities, I will make something, and I will keep on the hard work. And I think that's pretty much it. Sorry if I took more of the time. So yeah, that would be the end of the lecture, yes. And thank you again for everyone that's hearing, and for Dr. Haifa and the organizing committee.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mohamed. It was a nice speech.
دكتور
أهلا، حياكم.
عندي سؤال. أنت تخصصت في الببليك هيلث برا البحرين؟
اي نعم، انا مينلي سويت تريننج في الهيلث كير مانجمنت، وخذيت ماسترز في الببليك هيلث بعد. في الببليك هيلث اكثر المواد اللي كنا ناخذها في الابيديميولوجي.
اوكي، كم سنه تقريبا؟
2 years خذالي.
زين، يطرشون البحرين ولا لازم على الحساب الخاص؟
في الوقت الحالي mostly ناس يسوونها privately بروحهم، حتى في البحرين اللي يبون يسوون health care management they do it on their own. بس I've seen some people مثلا family physicians عقب ما يخلصون their training program يطرشون عن طريق الجوب يعني. و I think in the future ممكن يطرشون أكثر وأكثر لأن في وايد تسليط ضوء قاعد يصير على public health.
اوكي، واحتاج اخلص الانترنشيب قبل ولا؟
طبعا يفضل دائما الواحد لما يخلص الانترنشيب لايسنسنج وكل شيء it would be best to do it after يعني، او حتى after your training program. تبين تسوين training program عقب تسوينها ولا تبين حتى قبل التريننج program you can do it.
تمام، شكرا، يعطيك العافية.
الله يعافيك.